G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. It's late in the afternoon. It's a spring afternoon. It was a brilliant, beautiful day. We've got a bit of cloud cover coming in, which looks like it's going to be a cloudy day tomorrow. Maybe a bit of rain coming. But the trick is to try and make the most of what we can, when we can, and now is the moment. Down the bottom there is, I'll just point it out, is Zenith Beach. I've been up the top of that little mound there, that mountain there, but what I've noticed is since winter there's been a couple of landslides. There's one there, there's one over there, and one down the bottom there. And also at the bottom of Mount Tomaree, at the beginning of winter, we had another massive landslide which wiped out the track. So it would have been quite dangerous walking up and all of a sudden having tons of rocks, mud, trees coming down on you. I can just see some lightning showing up in the horizon over there, so we may get some rain a little bit later on tonight. But what I want to do today is take you on a journey and take you through a book summary entitled Cribsheet by an author named Emily Oster. And it's a book on parenting. And it's never too late, I guess, is the key message that I've learned in my life. It's never too late to learn how to become a better parent, because our children are still our children. The style, of course, changes. We need to change our style because we can't treat our children like toddlers or like teenagers. We need to treat them as adults. But along the way, hopefully, we have grandchildren coming into our lives, and the process, the process starts again from ground zero. So we need to relearn all the things that we've forgotten about parenting, and to try and become better grandparents. And hopefully our children can become great parents. So the author kicks off the book here with an observation and says that parenting is much more about the child than about the parent. Too many parents, I guess, have their parenting style, initiated based on their own needs. But the author here reminds us, and we all know this, but sometimes some people need reminding, that parenting isn't about the parent. Parenting is about getting the best and creating the best environment for the children. One thing for sure and for certain, we've all been through this, and parenting, becoming a parent, is by far the most daunting responsibility, the most trickiest project that we'll ever get to encounter. And the more children you have, the more you learn that each child is completely different, and you need to be able to morph and change your parenting style to cater for the needs of each child. Otherwise, you're going to have some problems, and you're going to have some issues along the way. Because as the author says here as well, not everyone's parenting situation is the same. Not every family is the same, especially these days. There are so many differences, so many different configurations that are called family. No longer is it father, mother, and 2 children or 3 children. The world has changed dramatically since the days of my parents, my grandparents, and me coming into the world. But each generation will have its challenges, but each generation will also need to sort out and deal with those challenges. I remember years ago speaking with my mother-in-law, Paula's mum, and she says that the reason why in Greek a child is called παιδί is that children are there για να σε παιδέψουνε, to challenge you. A child in Greek is the word child in Greek means problem, challenge that needs to be solved. You need to partner with them, you need to collaborate with them to help them solve the challenges that they face and that you all face as a family. So it's a very, very profound moment in my life just to listen to my mother-in-law explain to me that from a Greek perspective, the very word child actually means a problem that needs to be solved. So straight away you get a hint and you know that parenting is about solving problems for your children as opposed to creating problems for your children. Listen up, because a lot of people are very, very selfish. They get married, they fall in love, they have one child, they have two children, they have a family, and then all of a sudden they become very, very selfish and instead of focusing on what's right for their children, they spend more time worrying about what they're missing out on. And this selfishness is what's breaking up families, and why many families in 2021 are very different to the families that were in 1960 and 1940s. Very, very sad. But the first formal point to come out of this book from this author is where the author says that the choices you should make as a parent are personal. This is a very important point, because I know there are a lot of people, a lot of women, a lot of men as well, who are troubled because they are constantly being told by their parents, their uncles, their aunts, their grandparents, their friends, their peers. Everybody's offering advice on how to bring up children and how to be a parent. But the author here says that each family has a choice to make, and those choices are personal to the family and to those members of the family. So it's nobody's business, nobody else's business in terms of what's happening in the family, unless of course there's abuse or serious problems that need to be addressed from a criminal perspective and a neglect perspective. So the author here says another very, very important point, and I like this point, is that sooner or later we're all going to be invalidated by those around us. We're going to be inundated and invalidated by the conflicting and different advice, which is unsolicited. You won't ask people for advice, but they will offer you advice. I guess my advice, being a parent as well, is that sometimes it's good to listen to what people are saying and not to, turn your back on what people are suggesting, but to always know and always to understand that you and your wife or your partner are the ones who ultimately are responsible for being the parents of the children. You must never outsource that responsibility and accountability to other people, and of course never abandon or neglect your children, because there's nothing more that I wanted as a child than to be with my parents and my parents to be together. It's very, very simple, and I think everybody has a similar sort of feeling. But a lot of people use cost-benefit analysis to make the best parenting decisions. But what we need to understand is, and the major lesson is, that you can't be an efficient parent. The most important thing for us to consider is to become effective parents. Some children, some families, some people need more time. They need more of your time. And once they have the security of your time and they feel comfortable and they feel loved, then you can spend less time with them. But we need to understand that each child, each person has a need, and that need needs to be filled, because if it's unfulfilled, it could potentially lead to major issues later on in their lives. So the author goes on to say in the second point that using economic reasoning to determine what's the best way of bringing up your child can build a framework, but it can also provide you with choices. Each person, each parent knows, each parent loves the children, there's no doubt about that. But there are circumstances beyond their control that impact the way they interact with their families. Some people need to work long hours. Some people have got health issues. Now, who knows what it is, but as we said before, each family has its own challenges, and each family alone has to deal with those challenges, and it's not for others to provide unsolicited advice because it's not helpful. It just causes problems. It just makes people feel dumb. It makes them feel invalidated. It just makes them feel as if they're not ever going to be good parents, even though they may be brilliant and may be great parents to their children. We need to be careful not to get involved and to spoil the chemistry, the natural chemistry of father-mother or mother-mother, father-father, children, who knows what the configuration is. And it's realistic that we need to look at trade-offs, the opportunity costs versus the marginal value. Sometimes some parents go the other way and they over-parent their children, causing grief through over-parenting. We'll just turn the camera around for a little while. So there's another issue there that we need to be careful of, and that is not over-parenting and spending too much time telling kids what to do and not giving them enough time to socialise with children of their own age, to solve their own problems and to get through their lives as best they can. The author here suggests, and I love the suggestion, is that we need to do a risk assessment. Each parent needs to do a risk assessment on their children and to see if it's helpful. You know, is it worthwhile spending 4 or 5 hours doing something with a child if it's not going to be of benefit? If anything, it's going to irritate and stress out that child. We need to be able to, I guess, run as fast as a child wants or as slow as a child wants, and not to get overzealous in our parenting style is the key. And as the author says here, the key is to make a decision based on your risk assessment, and it's nobody else's business other than mum and dad's or the parents, whoever is the guardian. The last point that the author makes from this book is that you can use scientific studies to guide your decisions, but you need to be able to know which are the right studies. As we know with this pandemic, there's lots of information out there, there's lots of data out there, but there's misinformation, there's disinformation, there's a whole stack of stuff on social media, and not all of it is relevant, not all of it is accurate, and not all of it is helpful. So be careful of the scientific data on breastfeeding and all those other things that make people feel uncomfortable. Yeah, I guess that's about it, I think. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. Let me just give you a view of where I am, and I appreciate you joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where we've gone through a book called Crib Notes, which is a book which just basically tells us a little bit about parenting. I saw on television just today actually that there's a parenting show coming up which will critique parenting styles. Whilst many parents say, well, we didn't get a book, or that parenting doesn't come with a book, I say that we all come with a very, very good book, and it's the parenting style that we grew up with. Our parents, we have lots of people around us, we have lots of role models, And the key is, as Anthony Robbins said many years ago, if you want to be a great parent, then look around. Look around for people who are great parents and have a chat with them. Learn what they do. Try and understand a little bit about their philosophy on parenting, what makes them tick, and try and incorporate it in your parenting style. Speak to your parents, learn from your parents. Try and identify what your parents did when they faced a situation like you're facing with your children. So it's all about learning, and it's all about applying that knowledge. So I think I'll leave it there. So it's going to get dark soon, so I better get back. So wishing you all the best. Take care, and farewell from this magnificent location up here on the mid-north coast. And until we chat again, it's bye. Yasas Gefilaka from Jim's 5am Club. Bye for now.